Oh, my cohort of English 685. Welcome to my pedagogy presentation, Concentration in Teaching Literature. I will introduce the topic. I'll share and defend my opinion. I'll share some pedagogical implications, and we'll have a quick little closing. So today's topic: incorporate class discussion when teaching literature to make course content relevant to the learners. It is my informed opinion that with peer-to-peer discussion, students are better able to retain, apply, and comprehend course materials, and then they're more willing to engage in difficult and higher level material and tasks. Yes. Let me briefly say why you should believe me and who I am. Who I is. I have a bachelor's in fine arts, and my second bachelor's is in Africana studies, and I minored in literature. I am the child of an immigrant. My mother was Filipino. My father was Black American. I'm a woman of African descent, raised here in the States. And I'd like to share what I've seen and heard and experienced as a student as well as a teacher. So first, let me share with you my past and present experiences as a student of literature. In the past, these are some books that I read in undergrad that I absolutely loved. But I don't recall any class discussion about any of these works. Everything was lecture and presentation of information, presentation of the interpretations of experts. I don't recall ever being given an opportunity to share my opinion or relate it to my lived experiences. Now, maybe it's supposed to be implied, or, I did. When you read Turn of the Screw, you think about what it's like if no one believes you. When you read Ghost World, you think about what it's like to be a young girl searching for identity. But these were not discussions facilitated in my classroom. This brings us to present. I just finished this course with Dr. Shumikwa Ellis, Topics in African American Literature. And in this class, I wrote a comparative analysis of two poems, Ntozake Shange's Sorry and Jill Scott's Song Lyrics, My Petition. Both of these works have shared themes of emotional betrayal caused by others. The poem is betrayal by former lovers, and the song lyrics portrayal by the systematic oppression of the American government. Now, because this related to me so much, and because of the very engaging discussion board on Canvas, and then going in with intimate knowledge of this song before I began this class, I really enjoyed writing this paper, and I had to endure the joy of editing because I far exceeded the page limit of the assignment. The Canvas discussion board especially inspired me. So the strength of my argument is not only from my experiences, but I'm going to touch on some peer-reviewed articles, peer-reviewed scholarly articles, and then I have my sources cited at the end. We'll touch on Zaretta Hammond, Elaine Showalter, Gloria Ladson-Billings, and Geneva Gay, who coined the term culturally responsive teaching. So with CRT, it makes students' learning more relevant and effective for them. When you incorporate students' culture into the classroom, and this includes, these communal practices, the discussions and talking peer-to-peer teaching. So when teaching reading, if you let students do more talking, you need to ask them, how is this related to you? So the pedagogical implications, when you're facilitating discussion to situate the course content within the frame of reference for the learners, you'll be better able to meet your course objectives. Students will be more engaged and better able to retain, apply, and comprehend the course material. And I would like to share this quote Classrooms with warm teacher-child relationships promote deep learning among students. Children who feel comfortable with their teachers and peers are more willing to grapple with challenging material and persist at difficult learning tasks. Now, it says children, but still, I posit this applies for any student anywhere. So, how should you change your teaching? Okay, you should formalize discussion for cooperative learning, not just say, what do you think about blah, blah. It should be structured and formalized. So group work, discussions, peer teaching, these communal communication practices, framed as protocols for equity by Zaretta Hammond, these can be incorporated to ensure a more engaging, fluid, and interchangeable discussion. So facilitating diverse multiple perspectives in discussing literature does this. It enhances understanding, especially when examining historical events from multiple perspectives, especially those of marginalized communities, marginalized groups. You'll have a more comprehensive and nuanced understanding of the past and the context of when the literature may have been written. It encourages critical thinking. When analyzing different perspectives, students learn to evaluate information, identify biases, examine their own beliefs, form informed opinions, challenge assumptions, consider other viewpoints. Students will gain a more comprehensive understanding of complex topics. Because when you view a topic from perspective viewpoints, different experiences, interpretations, that's what it leads to. Facilitate personal growth. When you're exposed to these different viewpoints, you develop empathy for others, understand different perspectives, different cultures, make yourself open to new ideas, expand your understanding of the world, and develop a more flexible mindset. And isn't that the point of education? By the way, this is everything I just said, but in a slide if you want to screenshot or review later. So how do you facilitate these diverse multiple perspectives in discussing literature? These are some concrete practical applications. Think, pair, share is my standard. So with this, this is a collaborative learning strategy. First, you pose a question to the students to consider. Then they discuss their thoughts with a partner. And then you have the whole class discuss together. So this is a structured approach that encourages participation, deepens understanding, promotes active learning. This is one of my favorites, double up cold calling. So first you give a prompt and then 2 to 5 minutes for discussion to the students. Then instead of calling on a student or asking for a volunteer, you say, John, Joe, Mary, I would like you to share your responses for number 1. Billy, Bob, Ann, I would like you to share your responses for number 2. And then you give the students another 2 minutes. And this way it'll alleviate any stress or pressure that only one person to speak. They have that minute or so to prepare. They can support each other when they're talking. No one feels singled out in front of their peers. More ways to facilitate class discussion. So Geneva Gay coined the term communal communication. And this is Zaretta Hammond, who says that these structures are necessary to ensure all students join the conversation, specifically English language learners, introverted students, and disengaged students. So she offers protocols for equity. And these structured ways to facilitate speaking in the classroom, they are rooted in hip hop. For example, instead of the teacher facilitating discussion, you can assign a student as an MC. Instead of like chalk talk, which is students come in and write on the board their ideas, you can reframe it as like a graffiti tag billboard. Instead of fishbowl, it can be as a cipher. Um, and then actively engage with the speaker instead of or in addition to like, okay, I talk 2 minutes, everyone stop and listen. This person talks 2 minutes, everyone stop and listen. Have the person talk, and others can support or engage by snapping their fingers. This is a great way to not overwhelm the speaker with noise that we can't hear, but still show support. Another one that I learned from another teacher is silent applause, which is from the deaf community. If there's something you're vibing with, you raise your hands up and wiggle your fingers, and you can visually see everyone supporting you, agreeing with your words, your point, without being noisy and overpowering what the speaker is saying. So have the students talk because, as Zaretta Hammond says, whoever is doing the talking is doing the learning. Discussion, debate, dialogue leads to deeper learning and higher academic achievement. By the way, this is everything I just said, but in one slide if you'd like to go back and screenshot later. So, what does all this mean in general? Incorporating class discussion when teaching literature makes course content relevant to the learners. It enhances student engagement and understanding. Um, Create a safe, nurturing, inclusive environment so the students will feel ready to talk. Contextualize the literature related to their lives. When they talk, okay, how is what we're reading relate to you? And then reflect on power dynamics when they're reading. Okay, let's talk about who wrote this. What biases do you see? What stereotypes do you see? Get them to talk and really examine the material. And encourages critical thinking. Okay. When we implement these practices, communal learning, this can make literature instruction more relevant, more respectful, and more engaging for all students. I'd like to close with a touch on one of my very favorite TED Talks. This is The Danger of a Single Story by Nigerian writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Now, in the TED Talk, she talks about how when she came to America, people had a lot of assumptions about her because she's Nigerian. Um, and some of the unbelievable things people thought and said, including her own teachers, instructors in college. But another favorite thing I love about this TED Talk is that she shared her single story because she didn't have uh, multiple perspectives to consider or hear or other people to talk to. She only believed the story that her mother told her about the Mexican man that worked for her family. Don't you know that so and so is so poor? You need to eat that food. So and so's children would be so thankful to have that. And this single story is what influenced her. And she thought, oh, they're so poor, they're so sad, they're so desperate, it's so pitiful. Until she went to the town where so and so lived, and she did not know they could create art and be happy and laugh and have beautiful lives. Um, so everybody can benefit from understanding and having dialogues with those of multiple perspectives, different lived experiences. This promotes equality, social justice, again, deeper understanding for course content when teaching literature. These are my references. Here's what we did. Teaching literature is more effective when incorporating class discussion. I talked about my experiences. We talked about a couple of scholarly reviewed peered articles. The implications, pedagogical implications, better comprehension. That's all for today. And thank you. And I don't know how to end the video.